Welcome to our Middle East briefing program, where we dive into the latest and compelling stories from the region and beyond. Today, we've got a lineup that's as diverse as it is impactful. First up, we're talking about a stern warning from the US, urging countries to halt the supply of weapons to Sudan's warring factions. With over 14,000 lives lost and millions displaced, the specter of a new genocide looms large, particularly in the Darfur region. It's a chilling reminder of the international community's role in either fueling or extinguishing the flames of conflict. Moving over to the US, college campuses have become the latest battleground for Middle East politics. Protests demanding divestment from Israel have led to arrests at the University of Texas and Columbia University, with the movement also spreading to Europe. It's a vivid illustration of how global issues resonate locally, sparking debates and actions that sometimes lead to confrontation with the law. Lastly, a leaked document has shed light on a heart-wrenching story from Iran. A teenage girl, symbolizing the fight for women's rights, met a tragic end at the hands of security forces after disappearing from an anti-regime protest. This revelation contradicts the Iranian government's narrative and exposes the brutal crackdown on dissent within the country. It's a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for human rights and justice. That's a snapshot of today's key stories. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage on each of these topics. In a world where the echoes of conflict reverberate from every corner, the US has issued a stern warning, urging countries to halt the supply of weapons to Sudan's warring factions. The Associated Press reports that the US is sounding the alarm bells over a potential large-scale massacre in Sudan's Darfur region. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield painted a grim picture of El Fasher, the capital of Darfur, describing it as teetering on the edge of an attack that seems almost inevitable. With over 14,000 lives already lost and 8.6 million people displaced, the ambassador's plea for global awareness and an end to the paramilitary siege of El Fasher is a desperate cry for peace in a region tormented by war. Meanwhile, the University of Texas at Austin became a battleground for freedom of expression as protesters were dragged away by police, according to the BBC. These demonstrators, demanding that the university divest from Israel, were part of a larger, nationwide movement echoing through the halls of academia. The majority of these protesters, interestingly, were not affiliated with the university but stood in solidarity with the cause, defying orders to disperse in a bold statement against what they perceive as injustice. This wave of protest has not been confined to Texas. The South China Morning Post reports that the University of Texas saw 6 more arrests as pro-Palestinian student protesters were forcibly removed from tent encampments. The movement has gained momentum, reaching as far as Columbia University, where students faced suspension for defying orders to leave their protest site. The call for universities to sever financial ties with Israel has resonated across the Atlantic as well, with French police removing students from the Sorbonne University in Paris. Originating from Columbia University, this protest movement has ignited a powerful dialogue among students nationwide and internationally, challenging institutions to reconsider their investments and stand on the right side of history. These events, unfolding in different parts of the world, reflect a common theme of struggle and resistance. In Sudan, the fight is against the specter of genocide, with international actors playing a crucial role in either fueling the conflict or helping to extinguish the flames of war. In the United States and Europe, the battleground shifts to university campuses, where students are raising their voices against perceived injustices, demanding action from their institutions. Whether it's the call to end weapon supplies to Sudan or the demand for universities to divest from Israel, these stories highlight the power of advocacy and the potential for change when communities come together to challenge the status quo. In a world where the quest for justice and peace often collides with the harsh realities of violence and oppression, recent events in Iran and Sudan have drawn international attention, shedding light on the dire consequences of governmental and military actions against civilians. These events, as reported by reputable news sources, underscore the ongoing struggles for human rights and the complexities of geopolitical conflicts. The BBC recently uncovered a heart-wrenching story from Iran, where a leaked document, allegedly penned by Iranian security forces, revealed the tragic fate of a teenage girl involved in an anti-regime protest in 2022. According to the document, which is marked highly confidential, the teenager was sexually assaulted and killed by 3 men identified as members of Iran's security forces. The document provides a harrowing account of the events, including a summary of a hearing conducted by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, that named the alleged perpetrators and senior commanders involved in a cover-up. This teenager's disappearance and death became a rallying point for the fight for women's rights in Iran, especially in the wake of widespread protests ignited by the death of another woman under police custody for an alleged hijab violation. The Iranian government's claim that the teenager died by suicide starkly contrasts with the leaked documents' allegations, raising serious questions about the government's handling of the case and the extent of violence employed by security forces against protesters. Meanwhile, in Sudan, the New York Times reports on the escalating fears of renewed ethnic violence in the Darfur region, where a genocide claimed up to 300,000 lives 2 decades ago. The city of El Fasher, the last stronghold held by Sudan's military in Darfur, stands on the brink of a potential large-scale massacre as it becomes the focal point of a conflict between the Sudanese military and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. This power struggle has not only led to a humanitarian crisis but has also drawn attention to the involvement of foreign powers, such as the United Arab Emirates, in fueling the conflict. The situation in El Fasher, once the capital of the pre-colonial kingdom of Darfur, underscores the complex interplay of local and international dynamics in the region's ongoing strife. On another front, Yahoo US reports on a significant development in the Middle East, where Israel's military capabilities were put to the test against Iran's air defenses. In a striking demonstration of power, Israel managed to take out a section of Iran's advanced air defense system with a single missile, revealing Iran's air defenses to be woefully unprepared. The incident, which saw Iran attempting to conceal the damage by deploying an inferior replacement radar, signals a potential shift in Tehran's military strategy, possibly leading to the acquisition of more advanced air defense systems from Russia. This development highlights the ongoing tensions between Israel and Iran, with both nations preparing for the possibility of escalated conflicts. These reports from Iran and Sudan, along with the strategic military developments between Israel and Iran, paint a complex picture of the current geopolitical landscape. They reveal the struggles of individuals and communities caught in the crossfire of power struggles, be it through the suppression of protests or the horrors of potential ethnic violence. At the same time, the evolving military dynamics between nations like Israel and Iran underscore the precarious balance of power in the region, where advancements in military technology and strategic alliances continue to shape the prospects of peace and conflict. In a world constantly on the move, where headlines flash across our screens with the speed of light, it's easy to miss the stories that touch our hearts, challenge our minds, and inspire hope. Today, let's dive into a trio of stories that span the globe, from the tense negotiations in the Middle East to the financial struggles of an Australian airline, and the personal tragedy of a sports champion. Starting off with a glimmer of hope amidst the long-standing conflict in the Gaza Strip, the New York Times reports a potential breakthrough in ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. In a surprising turn of events, Israeli negotiators have shown a willingness to scale back their demands, specifically regarding the number of hostages to be released by Hamas. This shift in stance has reignited hopes for peace, with a mid-ranking Israeli delegation poised to travel to Cairo for resumed negotiations, contingent on Hamas's attendance. The proposal on the table includes a 40-day ceasefire and the release of potentially thousands of Palestinians imprisoned in Israel, in exchange for the hostages held by Hamas. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and British Foreign Minister David Cameron have both weighed in, highlighting the generous nature of Israel's offer and placing the onus on Hamas to agree to the ceasefire. This development represents a rare beacon of hope in a conflict that has seemed intractable for far too long. Transitioning from the political arena to the economic, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation brings us the story of Bonza, a regional airline grappling with its financial viability. In a move that has sent ripples across Australia, Bonza has cancelled all its flights and temporarily suspended services, leaving many to ponder the future of the Sunshine Coast-based airline. CEO Tim Jordan has extended his apologies to customers, assuring them that the airline is exploring all avenues to remain airborne. This news is particularly disheartening for the Sunshine Coast region, which had pinned hopes on Bonza to boost local tourism and connectivity. The airline's financial troubles highlight the precarious nature of the aviation industry, especially for budget carriers striving to carve out a niche in a highly competitive market. Lastly, a heart-wrenching story from Yahoo US touches on the personal tragedy of Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight boxer and former UFC champion, who has announced the death of his 15-month-old son, Kobe. Ngannou's grief was palpable in his social media post, where he recounted calling out his son's name, only to be met with silence. The sports world has rallied around Ngannou, sending condolences and support to him and his family during this incredibly difficult time. Ngannou's loss transcends the realm of sports, reminding us of the fragile nature of life and the shared humanity that binds us, even in our darkest hours. These stories, each unique in their context, weave together a tapestry of human experience that spans the spectrum of hope, adversity, and loss. From the diplomatic corridors of the Middle East, where renewed negotiations offer a glimmer of hope for peace, to the financial struggles of an Australian airline and the personal tragedy of a sports champion, we are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit. In the face of challenges, both public and private, the world continues to turn, often on the axis of hope and the enduring capacity for renewal and healing. In the buzzing world of football, Liverpool is gearing up for another thrilling season with Mohamed Salah expected to stay on board. The club, under the guidance of sporting director Richard Hughes, is eager to secure Salah's prowess with a new contract, signaling their faith in the 31-year-old forward's exceptional talent. Meanwhile, Paris Saint-Germain seems to be stepping back from their pursuit of Manchester United's Marcus Rashford, cooling off the transfer heat. In a strategic move, Liverpool is eyeing Crystal Palace's Marc Guéhi as a potential replacement for Joel Matip, showcasing their intent to bolster their defense. Over at Ajax, there's a buzz about bringing Erik ten Hag back into the fold as manager, should Manchester United decide to part ways with him. West Ham is setting its sights on former Spain manager Julen Lopetegui, indicating their ambition for a fresh leadership. Despite being under an embargo, Leicester City remains optimistic about signing new players during the summer window, a testament to their resilience. Manchester United is not slowing down either, with plans to bring in Dan Ashworth as sporting director. Lastly, Jermaine Defoe might just step into his first managerial role with Sunderland, marking a new chapter in his football journey. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.